Hello and welcome. My name is Trish. If you're new to my channel, then welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Today we're going to get into some hips. So I'm calling this practice, or maybe just a few poses that we're going to work through today, strictly hips. Stupid story, but I was in the shower and I was like singing crossover, EPMD, strictly hip hop. I'll stick to Kid Capri. And I was like, oh, strictly hips. That's what I'm going to call the next video. Anyways, that's just my silly stuff that goes through my head. Anyway, so let's get into it. For today's practice, you're going to need a couple of blocks and a strap so that we can just go through, as I mentioned, a few postures that are going to help us to open our hips. Because one of the things that I hear about quite a bit from some of my clients and just working with students in class as well is how tight my hips are, or even lifters that I've worked with and so on. So these are a few things that you can go through to help you to start to open up that area. Okay, so we're actually going to start on our backs. And you're going to take your strap right away. You may want to just kind of settle yourself in by lengthening down through your tailbone and drawing your tailbone towards the direction of your heels, and then also walking your shoulder blades down towards the direction of your heels. So you can take your strap. Let's just take it around the arch of the foot today. And you could either leave, so I'm taking my right leg up, you can leave that left leg bent if that feels better for you, or you can send or extend your left leg out. And then you're just going to take the strap. You want to grip it so that you can feel or look at your thumbs pointing up, and even just a little bit more rest through the shoulders. You don't want to create lots of tightness or tension up here. So better off just taking a nice firm grip a little lower on the strap, and then just allowing for even a tiny little bend, or whatever bend actually is happening in the back of that thigh. This just helps you to notice and take record of where your body is. And then as you're here as well, it's just a nice kind of good approachable way to start to come into the work that we're going to do here. So in our practice, we always want to come into our breath, just noticing how it is sitting in your body. You can see here, I'm even changing the grip, especially if you're staying for a little while. So instead of the two sides of the open strap, you can also stagger your hands or stack them one on top of the other. And it doesn't need to be too intense as you start off. As I mentioned, if you have a lot of constriction or tightness back here, it's okay to just let the knee soften to where it needs to be, just as long as you're feeling a good, proper sensation. When I say that, I mean it doesn't feel like you're hurting yourself or like you're in a bad pain. You may feel, yes, that some work is happening there, but it shouldn't feel like you're dying or anything like that. I don't know, for lack of better words. As you're breathing to expand your breath, you want to think about sending the sides of your rib cage out a little bit wider. On that breath in, you're going to see the belly change too, the belly expand even a little through the chest. And we're going to take that stretch over to the right-hand side. So you can let your left palm rest, especially if you've grabbed hold of both sides of the strap, so you have a nice, firm, stable grip. Take a big breath in, and then on your exhale, open your right leg out to the right side. So you're going to feel, of course, that you are supporting yourself. So you're going to feel some work happening through that wrist. If you feel like you are struggling a little bit, then it's okay to take that leg a little further away from you, so meaning away from the direction of your head, and just kind of soften that stretch a little bit. If you want a little bit more intensity, then you can bring it up a little bit closer. Some of the things to look out for is if that right leg is extended, that left hip might want to lift up. So you can take your left hand as a guide on top of that front hip bone, just to guide it down so that you can kind of feel neutral in the hips or your positioning here. You can just see I'm just resting to take 2 to 3 breaths. You stay as long as it serves you. If it really gets really uncomfortable, then you can take it slowly to bring it up. Now, drawing in a little bit of support around the waist, you can see I'm bending a little bit more deeply now through that right knee to bring it back up, just to keep yourself supported in your lower back. Now, switching the strap to the left hand, taking your right hand out to the side, we're going to take that across our body. So take it over to the left. And I didn't demo it on that side, but if you want your block to kind of help you a little bit, when that leg was out, you could also have your block or blocks stacked underneath your foot. If you want to do that on this side, you can do that as well. So if you want to just take one and make it a little bit more restful, then that's okay too. If it's more active, then you can see it's just kind of hanging in midair there. But you can soften it down to even a blanket or a pillow if you have one too, or a bolster. And you can see, you can just try to soften that right shoulder down. If it's not quite making it, again, you can slide a support underneath the back of that right shoulder. You can take a blanket or pillow. If you want an additional stretch, you can take a look or a gaze over that right shoulder. Take another 2 breaths. And then just soften through that right knee again, slowly rolling onto your back. And remove the strap. If you've watched some of my other videos, you'll know that I like to take the time, and this was just from my education, from my amazing teachers, to just take some time in between the postures. This helps us to recognize what's actually happening to our bodies after the posture, so during and after, but it just allows you to take note, what sensations are coming up. It gives you time to teach your body and your nervous system to also adapt to the new patterns you're creating. So continue to breathe. And you might also notice that you do feel a difference between the 2 sides, or maybe you don't. So it's just even noticing that, what do you actually feel in this moment? So take a couple of breaths, and then we're going to switch it over to the other side. So I like to bend my right knee just to support myself, to bring that left up, especially if I'm just starting off, if I'm not feeling as loose and open as I might later on in the practice. You can again grab either 2 sides of the strap or stack the hands, one on top of the other, and feel free to leave the knee bent or lengthen that right leg out. So taking your time here to settle into the posture, letting the shoulders behind you feel relaxed. Noticing some work through the tissues in the leg, but not overdoing it. And just imagine your breath informing what's taking place in your body. So your out breath just allows you to relax and give over a little bit more to what's happening in that stretch. But take one more big breath. And then let go through that right hand or right arm. And then slowly, and I'm also engaging a little bit again through the belly, just to keep that, again, that support and stability around the waist. Slowly lowering that left leg out to the left side. And you'll notice again that supine or that underhand grip of the strap. So exactly what I was saying before about demoing on this side, you can have your foot supported by your block or maybe 2 blocks, maybe a bolster, whatever you have underneath you or available to you. And now that right hand can come to the front right hip bone to just support me here. And then take another 2 breaths. Maybe you want to stay a little bit longer. If you notice that one side is a little bit more challenging than the other, then stay a little bit longer in that side. Or you can always come back to another round on that side as well. Now take an inhale, a little bend through that left knee, a little bracing of the belly, lift up. Switch the strap into the right hand, left hand drops down, and then stretch it all the way over, that twist to your right side. Again, mindful of that opening through the chest, that dropping back of the rear left shoulder. And breathing into the twist, let that out breath inform that movement, that shift, that turning of the mid-spine. 2 big breaths. Notice where they are, and then if you need to soften a little bit more, then just allow your body to relax more into the floor. Staying with that softening. Staying with that quality or soft quality of breath. And then just take your time as you brace your belly, bending a little bit more through that left knee, roll onto your back. Let it go, or let the strap come away, lengthen the legs out. Always keep in mind as well, if you're having any challenge or difficulty in your lower back, bend your knees and your rest can be here. But again, we're just taking that time to notice what's happening in your body. Two big breaths. And then you can take your time bending your knees, bringing your feet back to your mat. Take a little sway side to side. Continuing deeply with the breath. And then just rolling onto a comfortable side. Into a fetal position to pass through, and then just press yourself up. Okay, so we're gonna Come to all fours. Just move this block out of the way. Okay, we'll take a couple of cat-cows. Take an inhale. And then exhale, start to round your spine, drop the tail down, drop the crown of the head. Just going back and forth with the breath. We're only taking a few. Maybe one more time. And then inhaling back to a neutral spine. Feel a little bracing around the belly. And then I want you to send your right toes back down, long down your mat. So tucking the toes under, and then just give a little push back with that heel. Just a little extra calf stretch. You're still feeling nice and broad through your chest. Tendency might be to kind of hang or droop down, but still stay strong and upright through the chest and the shoulders, pushing the floor away with the hands. And then slowly bring that knee back. You again can take a little sway of the hips side to side, and then send the left toes back. Pushing slowly into that heel. Deep breathing. And then slowly returning back to tabletop. Okay, coming into downward facing dog. So tuck your toes under, lift the knees, lift the hips nice and high. Walk your hands out if you need to, creating a little bit of extra space. And then take a little pedal of the heels. And then finally settling both heels down towards your mat. Take a nice big breath. Take an inhale, lift your right leg up. On your exhale, step your right foot forward between your hands. Drop your left knee down. We're going to take the right hand to the top of the right thigh. You can either leave the back toes tucked, or you can take the top of the foot down behind you. And then we're just going to take a little extra stretch of that hip. So drop the hips down, take your hand just maybe a little bit on the inside of that thigh and press away. And then draw your chest away as well, kind of lengthening that right arm. If you can see, I'm kind of opening as well to the outer part of my right foot. So again, it's just a comfort thing. If that feels good to you, you can go with that. If you feel a little extra opening there, if it feels too much, then just keep your foot flat. So now I will come back in here by drawing the hips back, taking my hand to frame my front foot, and I will tuck the back toes under. We're going to shift back and forth with the breath. Take an inhale, drop the hips, open the chest. On your exhale, sink your hips back. Lift up those toes in the front. Lift up towards that, or resting on that front heel. And then just going dynamically with the breath, nice and easy. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, come back. So if at all this feels like too much, grab your blocks. I'm having serious wardrobe malfunction today. Okay, let's keep it together. So come back, that's just how it is sometimes, with your blocks, and you can take them to any height that you want to, and then you can shift back and forth. Also, if you need a support for underneath that back knee, like a blanket, because this can get uncomfortable depending on how the knees feel. Beautiful. Then slowly bring it forward. Take your blocks down. Plant your hands and then lift that back knee. We're pushing back into downward facing dog. All right, 3 breaths. And then lifting that left leg up to inhale. On your exhale, step that left foot forward. Drop your right knee down. You can scooch your left foot a little bit over to the left side of your mat. Take your hands down and then take that left hand to the thigh. So we're dropping the hips a little bit. Again, whatever feels comfortable for the back foot. And then slowly begin to open as you inhale, just taking that thigh a little bit more open, the hips to drop. Staying here in your breath. Inhale and exhale. And don't forget to look out for any other points of tension. So sometimes when we're trying to stay in a posture and stay very open in our hips, maybe we're tightening or squeezing through the jaw. So just notice how that might feel and just try to let everything go. Let the teeth separate, bottom from the top, shoulders. One more breath. And then just take your time shifting your hips back. Draw or heel toe that left front foot back in towards more the center of the mat. I'm going to take my blocks right away this time. And curl the back toes under for extra support. Take an inhale as you lower the hips. Exhale as you sink back. So in my last video as well, when I did cramps, yoga for cramps, you can check that out. I said, you can do all of these, or you might only have time for one or two postures. So our practice doesn't always have to be an hour long, or more than that, or you can do just, maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes. Maybe it's just some breath work. It's also about really paying close attention to how you feel that day. Maybe you feel like really depleted with energy and you need to just relax and maybe do a softer practice, or maybe just a couple of poses, because that can also have a large impact on and re-energizing you too. Continue to go with your breath. Inhale. And exhale. And then slowly come forward. Lose your blocks. Plant your hands. Lift that back knee. Downward facing dog. And then slowly shift forward. Just make your way down to a child's pose. Take your knees down. Take them nice and wide. Bring your big toes to touch. Push the hips back. And then just walk your hands forward. You can drop your forehead down on your mat, or you can take one of the blocks, any height that feels suitable, and rest your forehead down as well. Another gentle access into some hip opening with this posture. But you go with what feels good. If it feels like too much here as well, feel free to come up a little higher onto the forearms. Some of us, maybe too, our hips are not quite getting down towards the heels. Again, that's fine. You can even slide a pillow or something underneath your stomach to give you a little bit of extra height and support, and then just rest the forearms down too. So just work with your body. Meet it where it's at. And then take another big breath in.
and out. And then your next in breath, shift forward, come back to tabletop. So we're going to set up for lizard. Lizard is one of the ones that I practiced quite a bit. Still always going through that journey, and but practiced quite a bit when I started back into yoga. And it was really, really helpful to me. But again, that's me, that's my body. Negotiate what feels good for you. We're going to come up into downward facing dog. You can get into it a couple of ways. You can either get into it from downward facing dog or from this tabletop. If it's better for you, you can just shift or walk your front foot forward. But again, I'll show both ways just to see what works best. And again, it can be day to day. It might mean now that's how you feel. It might mean that's how it is for a few months. It might mean so many things. Our bodies are changing for different reasons all the time. From downward facing dog, lift your right leg up into three-legged dog. Step your right foot to the outside of your right hand. You can keep your back knee down. Again, it all depends on you and your practice, so it's a matter of what you feel. You can lift that back knee up for more intensity. And I'll just turn to the front so that you can see a little bit more of how the placement of the foot looks. So that front foot, we're opening it, maybe turning the right toes a little bit more to on a 45-degree angle. The hands can stay here. If you need more height, take your blocks. Your blocks can bring the floor closer to you. And then you have that nice opening, that length, again, that opening of the chest and broadening for support. And then you just feel yourself kind of giving over, letting the hips drop or be attracted downward. If it is progressing for you as you continue to practice, you can drop the forearms down. Now, if the forearms don't quite meet, what you might often run into is maybe one comes down, one doesn't. If that's the case, just bring it back. Come up to the hands. Stay there until you continue to work on that breath and that surrender down of the hips. You can open to the outer part, more of that front foot. On the exhale, and inhale can bring you back to a flat foot. So it can be more dynamic as well, just depending on what you want. I'm just going to turn myself back. You can stay where you are. Just so you can see this view as well. So again, hands, again, that broadening. I'll show the hands first, sorry. And then come back down if it feels good to the forearms. So this is what's good for me today. I'm not going to demo or try to demo anything deeper today. You can stay here for a few breaths. I'm just going to come back so that we can go to the other side. So listen to your body. Your body's always going to tell you a message, what feels good. So if right now it feels good for me to kind of shift my hips side to side. You may want to go back into downward facing dog. That's an option too. So you can always come into downward facing, maybe lifting that right leg up, opening the hip. Whatever feels good. Left side, inhale that left leg up. Step it forward to the outside of your hand. Drop that right knee down. And then release the back foot. But again, that intensity, just demo on this side. If you are able to come down and even leave that back knee up, that's also an option for you. It just depends on where you're at. But take your time. We've only got one more posture after this one. Again, that dynamic movement if you want it. Or just stay static. Maybe one more breath. And then slowly coming back. Coming out of the postures is just as important as finding your way in and staying in them. So take your time, ease back. Again, find what you need. And then we're going to come into our final posture for today, which is a double pigeon. So have your blocks close by. You're going to take your, I won't mirror. You're going to take your left foot or left shin, line that up with wherever you're positioned on your mat, front or the long side of the mat. And then we're going to take that right ankle and cross it on top. So we want to imagine kind of stacking or drawing, allowing the legs, the lower part of the legs to stack on top of each other, the knee to line up with this ankle to line up with this knee. Now, if this feels ridiculous, you're like, yeah, right. And there's lots of space, it's not happening. First step, okay, feel free to simply sit cross-legged. Sometimes that's a position that we're still working through as well. So if you're still working through that cross-legged position, find that, okay? An easy pose, what we call. So one shin right in front of the other instead of crossing the legs. Maybe even that feels challenging. You just want to take your feet more into bound angle or Baddha Konasana. We're sitting upright with the soles of the feet together and you've got blocks underneath just resting. Stack your blocks, stack whatever supports you need for height, because maybe there's a challenge in opening the hips or allowing the knees to fall more close to the floor. So giving you lots of options there. If you are in that double pigeon and you're able maybe even to get here, but that knee is quite a distance away from that ankle, again, take a block, take two, and then rest it, okay? If you need even an additional blanket there, that's okay. Take your hands at your sides, maybe the fingertips come up just to sit nice and tall and upright. And again, just notice where you might be holding on to any tension, through your face, through the shoulders, the neck. Of course, maybe potentially through the hips. But we're just allowing ourselves to give over to the sensations that are happening as long as we're not hurting ourselves. So as you're here and staying, I'm just kind of demoing some of the options or variations while we're here. Maybe it is able to connect fully down. You're still using the hands as a support to draw up and lengthen. Just soften through your face. Again, you can stay as long as you wish. You can stay a little longer, a couple more breaths. If you're coming with me, we're going to get ready to go to the other side. So just taking the support here, lifting underneath the foot and the knee to remove it. You can even take the legs away and just kind of give yourselves a little shake. And then coming to the other side. So now we are right shin parallel to the front of your mat. Left on top. You know the variations available to you, okay? Cross legs if that feels better. And again, one side may feel very different than the other. You might say, I can completely come in with more leveled knees on one side, but one side is a little bit
more challenging, then this is just the indicator. This is what our yoga practice teaches us. What's happening in the body. It shows us how to tune in. So as I mentioned earlier, maybe staying a little bit longer on that side, taking some additional breaths, maybe doing a little extra or coming back to it again after you maybe switched back and forth, doing an extra round per se on that one side that feels challenging. And you'll see, if you just allow yourself to be patient, give yourself some time, that things will progress. It's also great because maybe it also helps us to maybe seek out some other things, modalities that we might need. Maybe there's some strengthening that needs to be done. Maybe there is, opportunity for massage and seeking out that therapy. So there's a lot that we can find out as we move through our postures and get to know our bodies a little bit better. So let's breathe. You can also find that flexion through the feet, so as if standing on two narrow walls that are enclosing us. Beautiful. Take one more breath. And then slowly taking the hands underneath to support that coming away. Lift it off. Again, legs can come forward for a little shake, a little movement. Just a little building back of that circulation. And then maybe bringing the soles of the feet together, taking a nice big breath, lengthening, and then exhale, just tipping yourself forward for a little bit. Not here for too long. And then slowly bring yourself back up. Find whatever feels comfortable for you. Easy pose, cross legs, anything here. And as I said, hopefully you'll just take some time through maybe this entire tutorial, or you will pick apart maybe some of the postures that actually feel good to you and feel nurturing for you or feel helpful. Let me know in the comments if you would like some more support with some hip opening. Also, you can check out my hip stability video, because as much as we want opening, we also want stability in the area as well. And let me know, as I said, in the comments what you'd like to see, and I'm happy to put in some more content for you that's going to support your journey in this practice. Have a wonderful day. Namaste.